You're watching The Powerhouse Effect. I'm Amy Gregory, one of eXp Realty's top recruiters and the founder of Powerhouse, a national organization of over 800 agents built specifically for the solo female agent who is done leaving money on the table. Every episode, you're going to hear from real agents who made the leap and never looked back. Today's guest, Amy Peterson, started in Powerhouse as a brand new agent and within 5 years, built her business up to 28 million in production as a solo agent. Today, we are going to hear her story, the one and only Amy Peterson. I'm so glad you're here today. I feel like we should give people the backstory of how you and I actually met in person for the first time because we
I,
have friends of friends,
mhm.
but it was a Facebook Marketplace post where
I
we
had posted a wetsuit on Facebook Marketplace. This cute little Amy shows up on my door. I had seen her on social media and she was there to buy this wetsuit. And so, of course, naturally, I had to ask you about your real estate and about your social media. And you said, go get your license. And so we exchanged the wetsuit for a go get your license. I went about my merry way, got my license, called you for lunch, and the rest was history.
Well, I feel like that was 6 or 7 years ago. And for the record, my little boys still wear that wetsuit. And every time I pull that wetsuit out, I think about standing on your doorstep of oh, yeah, that's where I met Amy Peterson.
That was
So,
it.
okay, so but you, and this has happened to me quite a few times where I run into someone and we had friends of friends. For reference, Amy and I live about 25 minutes away from each other. So we have friends of friends, our social circles overlap. And it's not uncommon for other women to say, "Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about getting my real estate license." What had you thinking about getting your real estate license?
Well, I had my kids were starting to leave home. I am getting into this, what I call middle motherhood, this stage of life where I'm launching kids. I have kids in school still. I have grandbabies now. And so it was kind of this identity, crisis, I think, trying to figure out. I was heavily involved in politics. I was spending a lot of time there. And I had always, I know we don't talk about that much anymore. It's a previous life. But I had always, started little businesses along the way as I was raising my family, very entrepreneurial that way. Back in those days, though, it was brick and mortar. I had always been very involved or interested, I should say, in real estate. We moved 14 times with my husband's job. And I had every intention of being an agent, but when you're moving across state borders and out of towns, back then it didn't make sense. You couldn't run a successful or build a successful real estate business and move regularly. It was brick and mortar only, and there wasn't the internet like we have it now, obviously.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I got to this point, I got my license, and I've just, like I said, never looked back. It's been great.
Well, I feel like there's two things worth unpacking in that. One, I forgot about the politics version of Amy, and maybe it's and I would put this for moms because you have 5 kids. I would put this under the umbrella of volunteering for a good cause, right? Whatever it is, it could be like you're the classroom mom. It can be that you're heavily involved in your church or you're heavily involved in politics or you're just because you're raising kids, but you also have time and ambition and things. And so I remember having this conversation with you where you're like, well, they really want me to do this. And I did not know you well enough to say this, but I feel like my response was that's a horrible idea. Like that sounds terrible.
I think it's verbatim. That was your response.
It sounds terrible. And, but it's this weird thing where women don't talk about money, they don't talk about making money. And I want to say that I said that sounds like a horrible idea. Why don't you go get your real estate license and just make a ton of money for your family and enjoy your life? Was basically my response.
Yeah.
And me, that was probably more bold than it needed to be. As
No, it's good. And it's you just brought up a good point. I think it's so interesting when we're giving our time as moms and we're booster president, classroom president, we're giving all of this time. No, but everyone's just cheering you on. But
totally.
when you move into something where you're making money and it just kind of becomes taboo and you're spending your time building a business,
Mhm.
it's not as freely cheered on, I
On.
should say. I'm being ginger there a little bit, but so anyway, back to this motherhood thing that I love. It's my greatest, my most prized title, right?
Mhm.
And also we shift in our motherhood. We shift into different stages and phases of life. And I think a lot of us find ourselves going, okay, what's next? Like I'm slinging quesadillas for 20 kids in my kitchen every day. And so when I don't have 20 kids in my kitchen anymore, like who am I? What does that mean? And so I think we face those different things at different stages in our motherhood. And that was one of my pivots about 6 years ago.
Well, and I think too is one of the things, and I remember talking with you about this is, and because I had learned this myself because I had gone through the same transition where I'm like, I always had like these side hustles or these side businesses, and I got into real estate thinking I'm going to sell a couple houses and take nicer vacations, like genuinely. And then all of a sudden it turned into like, oh no, this isn't a side hustle, this is the hustle. And it was a lot for me to take in. And so you were just a couple of years behind me, and I was like, oh no, 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 I promise you, you should just go make a lot of money. It solves a lot of problems. The other thing though too is it's like the skill sets of being the booster president and slinging 20 quesadillas for 20 kids, like that is what builds a business. Like I
Yeah.
don't know that moms realize that like no, 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 if you can negotiate with like your 15-year-old or your 3-year-old, like you can negotiate a real estate contract,
Yeah.
no problem.
I say that often, and I think that sometimes women don't give themselves enough credit. I really truly believe you're far more prepared for anything that you want to take on than you ever realize, that you
Yeah.
ever give yourself credit. We have been preparing our whole life for everything that comes along our way. So whether it's you want to go and open an esthetician shop or, get your real estate license, whatever it is, you're going to figure it out because that's what you've always done. You figure things out.
Oh yeah, that's the
Yeah,
whole,
I
that's
think it.
motherhood in a nutshell. Wake
Yeah,
up every day and figure it out.
yeah,
Like there's no
yeah.
there's no guidebook to any of it. Okay, so tell me a little bit about like your experience inside of Powerhouse. You started out as a brand new agent, and a lot of times new agents will think, oh, I need to go to like a brick and mortar, be in the office where someone can train me and hold my hand. And instead, you were at a cloud-based brokerage. And I mean, we meet every single week. So walk me through like the mental jumps you had to make inside of Powerhouse. I mean, because you built to 28 million, which I don't think people realize is insane. That's insane.
Well,
Like, no, it is. You know
I-
that, and I know that, but like some people don't realize that.
yeah. Yeah, and I loved it. Like this has been like you say often the surprise of my life. It's been so challenging and exciting and great and hard and good and it's so I've loved everything about it. Back to where how I landed with Powerhouse. I had been watching you on social media, and that is where I think I got the first little bit of confidence, I would say, that you can be a really good mom and very present mom and still run a business because we have this thing now that's in our back pocket. We have this computer in our pocket. Previous to that, the conversation was always you can't be a good mom and be in real estate because you're gone all day, you're gone all night, you're gone on the weekends. I'm like, what? That there has to be a better way. And then watching you, obviously logic would tell us there is. So as I am getting my license, I'm obviously talking to you, I'm watching you. This is how I want to build. But I did do my due diligence. I went and interviewed, I guess, with different brick and mortar um, brokerages, and it was very apparent to me very quickly. Like I knew what I wasn't going to do. What I wasn't going to do is have somebody tell me I had to come into an office and leave my home. I wasn't going to ever go and door knock. I wasn't ever going to do cold calls. I was going to talk to the people that know, like, and trust me and become a resource for them when they're talking and thinking about real estate. And how best to do that, but with your social media, with your sphere, with your, there's a million different ways we can talk about how you build in 2026 down the road. But I wasn't going to build like it was 1996. And
Oh,
that is where I kind of stepped into with some of these brick and mortars.
yeah, it's wild. It's
It
wild.
is.
I love that you're like, no one was going to tell me to do that. And that is our gift, Amy. No one is actually going to tell us what to do.
Yeah. Well,
We might, we might
and
not get it right the first time, but we will for sure figure it out
yeah,
and come heck or high water, uh,
yeah.
which is actually just
And
funny.
and that's something to be said. You don't get it all right the first time. I mean, I think, and anyone that makes you think that, oh, they all have it figured out the minute that they jumped, they're lying. And they're
Oh, it's like moms saying like when they act like they have everything figured out. And I'm like, there's no shot. Like you acting like that tells me you don't, number one. And two, you're also a liar. So we have
yeah,
a problem.
yeah.
And
Listen, my favorite, this is very un-real estate related, but my favorite thing that I have ever, that I could share about me is before I had kids, I was like, oh, my kid's never going to throw a tantrum. I'm never putting a leash on my kid, and I'm not driving a minivan. Listen, by the time kid number two came, I had all three. Yeah, it's just you just don't know until you're there and you're building as you go and you're figuring out things as you go. And that is how you build this muscle of building a business and finding success in what works and what doesn't work.
well, and you and I were in the trenches together for a long time because we kind of were figuring things out together. And let's talk a little bit about how you got to 28 million in production because it wasn't on accident
Mhm.
and it wasn't without some blood, sweat, and tears. Uh,
Yeah.
and some things of like, well, literally never doing that again. I mean, there, you and I have had some conversations where we're like, well, that was a horrible idea. We're literally never doing that again, right? Which it's nice to have someone in the industry where you can call and be like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you're not going to believe this because you and I have both been on showings with clients, an hour away. I mean, their geographical
Mhm.
map of where they want to look is outrageous, outrageous. And then the deal falls apart or something like that. And so you really did focus in on getting listing heavy, increasing your price point, and keeping your deals close to home.
Mhm.
Talk through that a little bit and how Powerhouse kind of supported you in building that way.
Well, I think one of the greatest gifts inside Powerhouse is that we are all like brain sharing, exactly what you said. We're talking about this is the target, how's the quickest way to get there? And then it's throw all the things and figure out what sounds and works and go and implement that and then come back to the group. And so we've got a great brain share is what I call it. They're unbiased, they're honest, they're cheering you on, not afraid to tell you that's a really stupid idea. And that's what you need sometimes. And
Mhm.
so that is the support mechanism over here. For me specifically, everybody builds differently. I mean, that's the number one thing is everyone builds differently. And the thing that works is the thing that you're going to do and the thing that you're going to use.
Mhm.
So if you're brand new to a city, that's going to look completely different
Mhm.
than somebody who's born and raised. I was involved in a lot of different things here. I have a lot of, I would say, connections. I don't know how you want to say that. I've just
You
been
have
to
like
know
relationships. You have found
relationships.
and in build and in raising a family,
Yeah.
you build deep relationships with
Yeah.
people.
Deep, yes, relationships. And so I was just I guess what I set out to do, I didn't reach out to everybody like, use me as your real estate agent.
Mhm.
But I got very heavily, I was doing all the not fun things when you're starting to build a real estate business. You're sitting anyone's open house. You're, dropping off goodies things. I'm hosting things. I don't know. I have a million different things we can talk about with that, but you're doing all of the things that you do to build a business.
Mhm.
And I don't know,
Well,
get
but
a concept.
that's year like one and two, and maybe a little bit into year three, like where you really have to like make a name for yourself as a real estate agent because everyone else had known you as Amy Peterson, the classroom mom, the booster club president, the person you call when you have like need a petition signed
Right,
by a
right,
gajillion
right.
people, right? Because you are a figure it outer, you are a get things doneer, but then you need to be known as like Amy Peterson real estate agent, right? And so you have to like be able to shift that. And that is through events and it's through open houses and it's through talking about it on Instagram. Like they genuinely have to see you as a real estate agent again and again and again and again for them, like for the consumer to have this identity shift on you. But then by like year three, four, five, it starts really rolling and people will really build. And we've talked about this a lot in Powerhouse, how women tend to build referral-based, community-driven businesses. And so sometimes they don't show up well on a spreadsheet, but they are ironclad because those relationships are so deeply personal. And I think
Absolutely.
you're a master at that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I agree with everything that you said. And also, the most important thing is you have to be good. You
Oh,
have to do a good
gotta
job.
do good deals.
You've got to be a good real estate agent, very knowledgeable and experienced and talk and communicate and answer your phone and
Answer your
provide good service. And I mean, stay connected. It's just you've got to be good as well. And so that was something that was very, very important to me is continuing on my my reputation, my character, my values, all of the things. That is all of those things that you're doing to build your business are great and good, but you have to be a great agent, have great, and I know you know that all of those things, but that is like the missing part that I definitely want to make sure that we talk about. And then the last thing that you just said at the end, what did you just ask me?
It starts to roll. Like you start to build these referral-based
Oh,
community-driven
yes. That was
businesses.
the other thing I wanted to talk about is relationship-based businesses, in my opinion, are always going to supersede a transactional-based, business. And if you don't know what that is that we're talking about, just go out and look at the different, businesses that are running, whether it's real estate or otherwise, your customer service when you go into somewhere. Why do you go to that place over and over and over again? I've always said for decades that I'm the best, most ideal client because when I get good one-to-one client service, you have a lifelong client in me. I will always be there over anywhere else, even if I have to wait, even if whatever it is. And so that is the service and the hospitality that I want to always provide. And so they know they're always taken care of and confident.
Well, okay, let's talk a little bit about this because I call this like you are like an alpha female inside your community. And by that, I mean that when you listen, when you have five kids and you're tied to five kids, that means five sporting teams, five music lessons, five schools, five teachers every year, five, like, right? It's like multiplied by five. And so, like, you're able to really have deep roots inside a community. And when you are volunteering as classroom mom and booster club president and you're really involved in your kids, like you have these really deep relationships. And so when you say something, people listen, right? Because it's like I would even say, I think what our oldest kids are like 10 years apart, 8 years apart, like you're 8 years ahead of me, say, in kids. And there's a lot of times I'm like, well, I'm calling Amy. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm calling Amy, right? And that is how moms operate.
Hmm.
And so then when you think about that inside of like real estate or inside a business, like when moms refer to moms,
Hmm.
it carries a different weight. So
Hmm.
there's like, yes, there's social media and it's super, super powerful, but then there's just your actual real life social circles, which are way, way more powerful because it's happening over lunch, it's happening during carpool, it's happening in these like really personal moments of your life. And those referrals are the best ones.
Hmm.
And you can't have them unless you actually are who you say you are. Like, unless, to your point, unless you actually do good work, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And those are the ones that I mean, it's everything is important, but those mean the most and it carries so much. When somebody is speaking your name and referring you, it comes with a lot, that it's a lot for me to refer. I mean, you refer a bad, let's talk about my backyard landscaping. You prefer a bad landscaper, and then that came from you. Like, it's hard for me to trust you again if you gave me a bad referral. So it's always very, very important to me to take, I don't know, just the highest level of care and service for everybody that comes to me, but especially with when when I'm being referred through
Like a
friends.
a real estate transaction is typically someone's biggest financial transaction ever. It's a highly stressful situation, and you have to have an agent in there that can like hold not just like the financial logistical piece of it, but like the emotional piece of it as well,
Yeah.
because that's the part no one ever talks about, and it's a big part of the transaction.
Yeah.
Of being it's stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to hold your client's hand from that. Okay, I want to know is what do you think, like, if you're a brand new agent and you could go back to brand new little baby agent Amy, like, what advice do you have for her? Like, knowing what you know now, are you glad you took the leap?
Oh yeah, it was the best thing that I did for me at the time.
Mhm.
It was the timing was great. What would I say to, I don't know, just I guess just to continue. Sometimes we're really hard on ourselves. Well, I guess the thing too, I would say, it's just like when you start a diet and you're like, I've eaten good for 12 hours. Why are my jeans not falling off of me? And so you grind and work hard and it's been 30 days and things aren't happening exactly how they were in your mind. You have to just keep trusting the process and consistently moving forward and stick with it, and then you will start seeing the results. And so I think that would be the number one, is just it can be a slow burn, and continue to work hard and show up and be true to who you are. For sure, always be honest. Oh my gosh, that is the biggest thing that has been so interesting to see. Just be good and be honest. Oh, you just said, oh, and I would say, don't treat it as a hobby. If you get in, go all in, treat it as a business, take it seriously, get yourself set up legally with your PLLCs and your tax, everything set up from the get so that you're ready to roll and go. And if, that's a story for another conversation, but if anyone knows my story, I didn't get set up properly as far as taxes go, and I got killed in my first year. And that is like you said, you make a mistake once.
Mhm.
That's the only time. But that's my advice to anyone else. Set yourself up properly from day one and treat it like a business, not a hobby.
Absolutely. And okay, this is kind of a question I wasn't planning on asking, but do you think building a business like you've built, because people listening or watching probably don't realize, but your hourly rate puts you in the top 1% of all female earners in the United States of America. And that doesn't get said, and it makes you uncomfortable to have it said about you. But like the statistic is the statistic. I'm in that 1% as well. You're in the 1% as well. How has that impacted you as a mom?
Do you mean the psychology of money or physically, like taking?
Both, either one.
Well, it's allowed us to do. Yeah, there is a lot to unpack there. It has obviously allowed us to do certain things. You can pay for college and not have to feel like, oh, where's tuition coming from? Obviously, there is the relief of some of those things that just finances bring. The psychology, it has shifted my psychology of especially being in this room where you're in a room with women. It's like everybody knows you can always figure out a way to go and make money. Like if everything fell apart, there is a way, and even if it is down sitting on a corner selling necklaces,
Yeah.
whatever it is, there is a way to go and make money, and it just expands your mind. It expands your thought process about what is possible. And so I think that would be the biggest shift for me, honestly. I don't know if I answered that
No,
as you
I think
were.
so. Like, I think it's like your kids legitimately have access to a different mom.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
A different mom. Like, your perspective starts to shift where you're like, oh, I remember the first time I brought home 100 grand. Like, that was my first year in real estate. And like, I didn't need to work, right? You don't quote unquote need to work, right? But I remember like all of a sudden being like, oh, I'm financially independent. Like, if something happened, like, didn't know
Mhm.
like I cognitively knew I would figure it out, but when you've done it, it brings this confidence where you're like, oh, like, okay, I got this. Like, if I
Figure
need
it
to do
out.
it. And I
Well,
think,
it is. I mean, that's the biggest thing I think is it's just an expansion of your thinking. It
mhm.
just things that you couldn't have ever thought possible because you weren't in the room or you weren't around people that were talking and doing those things, and now you are, and it just is opens up a whole new world.
Well, and ultimately, a lot of agents inside of Powerhouse find themselves in that top 1, 3, 5% of all females in the United States of America. That's what their hourly rate, you know,
Mhm.
says about them.
Yeah.
And I think we all about when we figured that out, we were all like, oh, like we're all doing better than we realized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is actually a great gig. Amy, thank you so much for being with us today inside the Powerhouse Effect. If her story sounds familiar, that's probably because it is. This is what happens inside of Powerhouse. If you're a solo female agent and you've been wondering if there is a better way to build, there probably is, and we can probably figure it out for you inside of Powerhouse. Come and find out what Powerhouse feels like for you. There are links to schedule calls below in the show notes. And if this episode if this episode hit home, share it with one agent who needs to hear it. That's how we grow this community. I'm Amy Gregory, and I will see you next week.